Cumbria, a county loved across the world for its soaring peaks and immense lakes. Millions of tourists flock every year to the Lake District to soak up the incredible natural beauty, witness the spectacular wildlife, and to walk amongst the many fells. Cumbria's mountainous landscape is even reflected in its county motto, "I have lifted up mine eyes into the hills." These are the scenes that spring to mind when thinking of Cumbria's natural heritage. But Cumbria is also home to many secluded environments that lie away from public view. There are fragments of globally rare temperate rainforest. There is a haven for deer hidden in a city cemetery, and there are fantastic urban wilds maintained by members of the public. There is so much more to this place than merely mountains and lakes. These are the hidden wilds of Cumbria. On the southern shores of Haweswater lies a stunning secret. The wooded slopes of Nadell Forest may seem ordinary to the untrained eye, but to expert April Windle, this place forms just a fragment of one of the world's rarest habitats.
Atlantic woodlands are a really restricted habitat within the UK. They're very much confined to the western seaboard of the British Isles, and they are influenced by the oceanic climate that we get across the Atlantic Ocean. So very mild and very, very wet. We are in the Lake District. The Atlantic woodlands found in the UK constitute this globally restricted, cool temperate rainforest biome. These woodlands are of international importance, and we have a responsibility to conserve and safeguard these environments, because not only are they important from a habitat perspective, but they host a suite of species that you just would not find outside of these woods. Cumbria is a real stronghold in terms of Atlantic woodlands within the UK. The quality of the woodlands that we have across the Lake District are really quite phenomenal, and Haweswater is a fantastic site to come and see Atlantic woodlands. The world would look an incredibly different place if lichens weren't present. They play a huge role in terms of ecosystem functioning. They contribute quite significantly to global biodiversity. They are important for a suite of different wildlife, ranging from birds and invertebrates, be that as a food source or nesting material. Because they grow absolutely everywhere, you have this biological surface that is essentially breathing. So the dry stone walls are breathing, the trees are breathing, not just from the leaves, but all of the bark as well. So Atlantic woodlands are subject to a variety of threats like very many other habitats, so climate change, habitat fragmentation, pollution occurrences. The single biggest threat in terms of Atlantic woodlands and the lichens and bryophytes that characterise this area is the fact that no one knows about them. They suffer from a severe public relations issue, and at Plant Life we're working really hard to get people out and about into these woods, and I think the minute people start to enjoy them, they automatically begin to appreciate them as well. So what's so exciting about these habitats is they are actually so accessible, and I would encourage anyone who has a love for the natural world to go out and about and explore some of your local Atlantic woodlands.
The importance of this landscape cannot be understated. The temperate rainforest habitat is home to a breathtaking diversity of lichens, mosses and liverworts, which in turn support a range of life. Thanks to the efforts of individuals like April and organisations like Plant Life and the RSPB, the true value of this habitat is coming to light. Their work will ensure that this hidden wild is protected for future generations to study and to enjoy.
There are over 14,000 cemeteries in the UK. Many are undervalued and have fallen into disrepair, budget cuts and a lack of interest taking its toll on these historic spaces, their environmental value going unnoticed. Since its opening in 1855, the managers of Carlisle Cemetery have worked hard to make this a wilder space. Michael Cartledge has worked at the cemetery for nearly 30 years and has seen firsthand how this place has changed.
My old boss Ken West, he got an MBE for his works in the field, and he was a humanist, and he was very much into wildlife, ecology, that kind of thing. he made a decision for the graves in these first sections that were over, say, 70, 80 years old and were no longer visited, to allow the grasses to grow, allow the nature to take over a little bit.
Nature has made the cemetery its home. From tiny lichens to a herd of roe deer, life can be found wherever you turn.
Looking up now towards a woodland burial. This was opened in 1993 and it was the very first in the world. Since this site was opened, there are now over 250 similar sites in the UK alone. Churchyards and cemeteries are places that people associate with death. There's no getting away from it, that's what they're here to do. A living churchyard is basically, as we've been discussing, you're looking around, you're seeing, you're almost sensing the life in this place. It's all around us. I think from flowers to insects to mammals to birds, a living churchyard is to create a little old ecosystem around something that is basically here to deal with death. We get so many comments about this site, about how beautiful and peaceful it is, and even me, working here I can take half an hour in this cemetery and get away from life and the roads and the cars and just disappear off, and it's like you're going back in history a little bit.
Investment in the cemetery still continues, and the ongoing management of the space allows nature and people to live harmoniously side by side. The careful maintenance by the council now means that the wildlife value here exceeds that of many country parks. The residents of Carlisle are truly privileged to have such a wild space within their city limits. Gardens, a place for flowers to grow and children to play. But for some, gardens are a place for the urban to get a little more wild.
I'm Cathy Howe.
And I'm David Howe.
I've been married to David for nearly 50 years, and we both like to walk and we enjoy the countryside as much as we can.
We decided to make our garden a wildlife garden because it's an extension of our countryside experience, and it's like a little bit of nature in the middle of a big city.
And we were concerned also about the impact of the increasing urbanisation of the country, where habitats are getting destroyed because cities are growing, and therefore we thought anybody that can do a little bit to preserve habitats and therefore preserve wildlife, it should be done. So we thought we'd try.
The Howe's Carlisle Garden contains a number of helping hands for wildlife.
If you look down this corner, you will see our hedgehog box. It's made just out of old pieces of wood and it's covered up. Some of the cladding has come off it. But to the right of it, you've got the hole, so the hedgehogs or other animals can come in from the street and into the garden. Right here we have our bird feeders. We've got 4, 2 are the same, small feed for normal type garden birds, goldfinch, nigella seeds, and here peanuts. We have the hedgerow here running along, which does similarly. It sucks water out of the ground and out of the river as well. And it's also a place where we can have plants like the daffodils at the moment and other things that come and grow between them.
I think we always have been interested in wildlife, you know, to a greater or lesser degree. But I think in recent years there's so much more emphasis on it, isn't there? You know, in the media we're hearing about wildlife all the time and about the importance of conservation of wildlife and habitats and stuff. And I think that, you know, as countryside lovers anyway, that's kind of gone into our DNA almost, and we've become, you know, much more proactive about it than we used to be.
The Howes aren't the only people encouraging wildlife in city spaces. Students from the University of Cumbria's Wildlife Society have created a new biodiversity area to protect and increase wildlife on their campus. They've been working hard to create new habitats from tiny invertebrates all the way up to larger mammals. Their aim is for all students on the campus to have a chance to see and enjoy nature on their doorstep.
Since beginning their work, they've been monitoring the area with observations, line surveys and camera traps, and there's been a huge difference already. A colony of rare tree sparrows now visits the hide regularly, and camera traps have revealed hedgehogs passing through in the middle of the night. It's the work of individuals like the Howes and groups like the Wildlife Society that make our towns and cities wilder spaces. Every bird feeder, every hedgehog box and every bee-friendly flower makes a tangible difference to the state of nature. It only takes a little effort to make a space better for wildlife. Wilds don't have to be miles away in the mountains. They can be right there in your back garden.